Last week, a client of mine closed a $500,000 deal from his LinkedIn posts that only get 8 likes on average. But how was he able to do this? He doesn't have a lot of followers. He doesn't even have any fancy production. All he did was send the right message to the right person at the right time. And this isn't a one-off. We've implemented these exact lessons to help over 50 clients close 6-figure deals and add hundreds of thousands of dollars in monthly revenue directly through LinkedIn. Everyone's obsessing over likes and comments, but after sending 5 million LinkedIn DMs and generating $3 million in client revenue, I figured out what actually drives sales on LinkedIn, and I've broken it down into 6 lessons. And these are not theories, they're battle-tested strategies that have helped me and my clients book hundreds of qualified calls month after month. So by the end of this video, you'll have a complete LinkedIn DM framework that actually works in 2025. And the first lesson reveals a hidden filter that instantly quadruples your connection rates, but almost nobody uses it. Think about the last time you sent connection requests on LinkedIn. You probably searched for job titles, industries, or company sizes, and then sent requests to everyone who seemed relevant. That's also what I did too, until I discovered a critical flaw in this approach. See, the vast majority of users on LinkedIn are actually inactive. They've created a profile years ago and they've never checked their messages since. So whilst you're blindly sending connection requests without filtering for activity, you're basically shouting into an empty room. And you're wasting 80% of your outreach efforts on people who will never even see your message. And honestly, the solution is surprisingly simple. Simply focus on those active users. The difference is using the posted on LinkedIn filter. This single filter alone ensures that you're only reaching out to people who are actively active on the platform. When you focus exclusively on people who have recently posted, you are guaranteeing that they check LinkedIn regularly. They'll actually see your message requests and your messages, and I've tested this extensively across hundreds of accounts, and the results is honestly very staggering. Accounts using this filter consistently achieve 30 to 40% connection acceptance rates compared to the standard 10 to 15% that most people get. And I'm going to show you exactly how to implement it inside LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Alright, so we're going to head over to Sales Navigator and we're going to click on this thing called Lead Filters. And you're going to look at a page that looks roughly like this. So you're going to see a bunch of filters on the left hand side. Now, I'm not going to show you exactly how to use all these filters right now. I'm going to show you the main one that's going to increase your acceptance rates. And it's this feature, posted on LinkedIn. So let's say, for example, we're looking for CEOs. And we're going to put Chief Executive Officer. And let's say, for example, they're going to be based in a certain location. Let's just say it's North America. And then we're going to have a number pop up, say 1 million plus results. So let's make it a little bit smaller. Let's say, for example, they've been in their current company for 1 to 2 years. And they're in the personal industry of technology, information, and internet, for whatever reason. We're going to come up with a number of 13k plus results. Now, again, as the issue I mentioned, a lot of these people are not going to be active on LinkedIn. And simply all we got to do is click on this filter, posted on LinkedIn. Now, when I hit that, we go from 13k down to 5.5k. And this is a basically proxy to say that these 5.5k people, 5,500 people out of the 1,300 are definitely on LinkedIn because they posted in the last 30 days. Now, I know what you're going to think. You're thinking, hold on, my ICP doesn't always post all the time. And yeah, I completely agree too. Not all ICPs post all the frequently. But this is the only and the best proxy we have for activity on LinkedIn that is native to Sales Navigator. So it's really easy to use. All you got to do is toggle the switch and you're instantly going to increase your connection acceptance rates. So you should 100% be doing this for any of your lead lists if you're taking LinkedIn seriously. But there's something else surprising about connection requests that goes against everything you've been taught, and it's a really simple change that can instantly boost your acceptance rates by another 22%. When you send a connection request on LinkedIn, what do you write? I loved your recent post on digital marketing. I noticed we're both in the SaaS industry. Everyone teaches that personalization is the key to getting accepted. But hold on for a second. What if I told you that personalized connection requests actually reduce your acceptance rate? And I didn't believe it either until I tested this across thousands of connection requests. And the data shows something completely different from what most LinkedIn experts are preaching and what most people are doing. When you add a connection note, you're getting around a 27% acceptance rate / lower, while blank connects receive 33% connection rates or higher? Well, that's because personalized connection requests almost immediately trigger sales alarms, and for most people they're really bad at writing a personalized connection request. And so it's not surprising that most people get a lot lower than the 27% acceptance rate that they would get with a pretty generic connection request note, and so actually do really worse and hinder their own results and stop themselves from being able to book in more calls. See, the moment someone sees a carefully crafted message referencing their post or their company news, they know you're trying to sell them something. So if that's true, what should you do instead? Instead, send blank connection requests and save your personalization for the first message after they connect. Now, this subtle change will increase your acceptance rate significantly and give you more opportunities to start genuine conversations. Blank connection requests, you see, appear more natural and more authentic, like you're connecting because you genuinely found their profile interesting and not because you have an immediate sales agenda. So here's how you really simply implement it, and I'm going to show you right now. So all you're going to do is you're going to find someone you want to connect with. Let's just look at for example. You're going to click on more, and then you're going to click on connect, and then you're going to get a pop-up that says, do you want to add a note to your invitation? And you're just simply going to say send without note, and that is it. Now your connection has been sent. Now, if you're using an outreach tool like Dripify, HeyReach, Walaxy, Octopus CRM, anything that you can mention, I've probably used it. When you send your connection request as part of your campaign, and I'll show it how it looks in HeyReach, you click add action, send connection request, and you can choose to fill in the connection request note. And this will look like something like this on any of the tools that you're using. All you got to do is make sure you don't write anything in there. Just click save and then move on. That's all you have to do. Do not add anything to your connection request on the tool that you're using to ensure it doesn't send something and become a personalized note. Now, once you have a connection, you can head over to My Network, and then you can click on Connections, and then you can click on seeing who's been recently added to your network. And when you look at this, you can then look at all the people, and you can choose to then send them a personalized message. This is what separates the bottom 90% of users on LinkedIn to the top 10% who are automating their first message. If you write a personalized first message that's actually manually written, you're going to get a much higher response rate. And the typical flow I like to use is when I send a message, that's manual, that's personalized, I send it over multiple lines, I use conversational angles and tones, and I make an observation about their business and then ask them a question. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. Let's say, for example, we want to speak to Jack Sherritt. We found his profile, we're connected with him. I'm going to click over message, and I'm going to literally have a normal conversation with him. So I'm going to look at his profile. I see he runs a marketing agency, and they work on Amazon, it looks like, and they worked with some really big brands as well. We've helped manage Walmart PPC for Philips, Sonicare, Event, etc. I might look at a couple of recent posts to get an idea of what he does. He's not really posted recently. I'm going to go onto his profile. I might even visit his website to get a really quick idea of what's going on. It looks like it's gone to the wrong place. There we go. So he does some Amazon advertising, Amazon storefronts. He's very focused on Amazon, which is awesome. And he's worked with some decent brands. So we're going to head over back to his profile. I looked at his job history and found that he's been on Amazon for a very long time. So I'm going to drop him a message saying, hey, Jack. And then click send. And I want it to come as a separate line. What's going on? Don't often see proper Amazon experts on here with real years in the game. So it's really conversational, it's really normal, it's really relaxed. I'm just trying to get him to have a response now, and I've given him a bit of a compliment / something to egg his ego on a little bit, so I hopefully draw in a response. Now notice how I also used AMS, not Amazon. I've made my tone very conversational. I'm trying to make it look like this is not an automated message, and I've actually looked at his profile, which I genuinely have, and then I'm going to wait for him to respond. And if he doesn't, I might drop him another screenshot of his landing page, for example, and be like, hey, awesome logos you got here. Are you looking to bring out any more clients in the next few months from LinkedIn? And that's how I would begin to have that conversation. But sending connection requests is still a manual, time-consuming process. So what if there was a way to have more qualified prospects coming to you instead? Now, the next strategy completely flips the script on LinkedIn outreach. I bet your inbox is probably full of cold outreach messages right now. Hey first name, I know you worked at company. I would love to show you how we can help you with some sort of service. Like, these messages almost never work, yet for some reason everyone just keeps sending them. And let's look at this message over here, which came from this guy. He said, hey Paolo, We can provide you with a lead designer for e-com growth team at a rate of $3,200 per month per designer, blah blah blah. Here's our portfolio, let's connect. Ignored it, and then an hour later, pleasure to have you in my network. Are you still looking for a designer? If yes, we'll be your one-stop shop. Let me know your thoughts. Okay, good morning, Paolo. Are you around for a quick call? I've also sent you an email with my details. We say not interested. He goes, hey, hope you're doing well. Do you have any projects you want to outsource to us? Like, what is going on? And so when I look at this message, I just think it screams somewhat desperation, but somewhat just a complete disregard for how people buy. It's not made for me. It's not something I even need right now, nor is it something I ever want to buy in that sort of regard. I'm not buying you based on your price. I'm buying you based on how good of the work you can do for me and achieve my outcome. But why is it this bad? Why is it so bad that I need to tell you to stop doing it? And that's because cold outreach on LinkedIn has become increasingly difficult. Decision makers, like the people you want to reach out to, receive dozens of pitches every single day, and they've developed a highly sensitive sales BS filter that immediately shuts down conversations that feel like a pitch. You're effectively competing with hundreds of other people trying the exact same approach, and your prospects have become numb to it. Even worse, LinkedIn has become increasingly strict about limiting connection requests and flagging accounts that seem too aggressive. See, when you rely solely on cold outreach, you're playing a numbers game with terrible odds. And so this is what I recommend, and trust me, we do this with all our clients, and it's helped us book 268 calls in the last 90 days. Instead, create lead magnets that attract pre-qualified prospects who raise their own hand. Let me explain to you what this means. Instead of chasing prospects, create a valuable resource that they actually want. This is a resource that you can post. It could be a guide, a checklist, a spreadsheet. It doesn't really matter what it is, but for the sake of it, you post this thing and you say, hey, if you want it, give me a like, give me a comment, and I'll send it over to you in the DMs. See, now when someone comments on your lead magnet post, they're effectively raising their hand and saying, hey, I have this problem. Your solution, your resource helps me solve it. They've basically already qualified themselves as being interested in you. Then following up with these warm leads is infinitely more effective than cold ones. They already know who you are. They've already shown interest in your content, and they've explicitly requested your help. And so here's how you can implement it. Step 1 is think really deeply about the pain points your ICP has. For example, let's say you're a sales coach and you help people implement better sales techniques to get a higher close rate. Well, let's think about all the problems that ICP that you're selling into might have. They may, for example, struggle to get their SDRs to pick up the phone. They may struggle with cold calling and not getting through to decision makers. They may struggle with negotiations and proposal creating, or they may struggle with qualifying leads on their first discovery call. So what we say is, wait, we've noticed a pain point, let's create an amazing resource for it. So for example, as a sales coach, you may create a resource which says, this is the one-on-one guide to conducting a discovery call that has a higher conversion rate to close deals on the back end. So take a step back for a minute before you think about using AI or trying to hack this resource. You want it to be so good that when people read it, they go, wow, you must really know what you're doing because this resource is amazing and it helped me solve my problem. So make an amazing resource. It happens to be 10 pages, let it be 10 pages. Create this amazing resource and then post about it on LinkedIn. Tell them how much effort you put into this lead magnet, how amazing it is, this resource, how you've used the same techniques to scale someone's business or increase a close rate or improve discovery call flows. Give that resource away and say, hey, let's say sales leaders, hey VP of sales, I've created this amazing resource. If you want it, comment, like, and I'll DM it over to you. And when someone comments, just send them the resource via the DM saying, hey, thanks for commenting, here's the resource. And here's the best bit. By the way, how's your sales team doing? You're just starting a conversation. You open it with a question that you probably know it's going to go in a certain direction because they're asking you for a discovery school script or a discovery call guide. They're probably going to say, not so great if they do respond. And there you go, you have a pain point, you have someone pre-qualified, and it's now an easier time to have a conversation to convert that lead from, let's say, warm or interested or just aware into a booked meeting in your calendar. Now, after sending this resource, you want to keep having a little bit of a back and forth with this person, and you want to be tracking that conversation so you don't lose it. Now, if you want to start off really easy, just literally use a spreadsheet and have some statuses. We personally use a SaaS internally that helps us manage all the conversations because we just have so many going on. LinkedIn gives you dozens of filters to find prospects, job titles, industries, company sizes, locations. The options almost seem endless, and most people use these basic filters and they think they're targeting effectively. But here's the problem no one talks about. The way most people build lead lists on LinkedIn creates fundamentally flawed targeting that undermines all their outreach efforts. For example, did you know that filtering by industry on the lead filter shows the person's individual industry selection when they created the account and not their company's industry? Now, this seemingly small mistake actually produces completely inaccurate results. Or that Sales Navigator has two completely different list types, account lists and lead lists, and they have very different purposes. See, most people use the wrong one without even realizing it. And again, these seemingly small mistakes create lead lists filled with people who will never buy from you, wasting your time, wasting your energy, and ultimately damaging your conversion metrics. So what should you do instead? Build laser-targeted lead lists using these advanced techniques. 1. Use company industry filters instead of personal industry filters. 2. Create account lists for company targeting and lead lists for individual targeting. 3. Master Boolean searches to find ultra-specific prospects. And 4, I told you this one earlier, look for posted on LinkedIn filters for active users. Now, first you need to think about how you're using LinkedIn. So if you are looking for certain people that work at a certain type of company, then you need to start with an account filter. So for example, if you're looking for CEOs who work at HVAC companies, you need to look for the HVAC company first and then find the CEOs at that company. And I'm going to briefly show you how that works. So let's say we're looking for HVAC companies in North America. We're going to go to the account section. We're going to click on headquarter location. We're going to say they're based in North America. And then we're going to have to start looking for HVAC companies. Now, the natural first thing to do is just look at the industry, i.e. this little phrase underneath the company name is the industry that the company tagged themselves as when they created the account. So we could just write HVAC and see what appears. And we get HVAC and refrigeration equipment. Do we have all the potential HVAC? Do we have, if I write air conditioning, does that cause another one? We have water, steam, and air conditioning. There are loads of different terms that we could be using, and it's really hard to work it out. So we said we can go to ChatGPT and say, hey, you are a LinkedIn Sales Navigator expert, and you have full knowledge of every single industry filter on account searches on LinkedIn. Please confirm and do research if required. So we click enter, it will search the web, it will do some stuff, and we're going to make sure that it understands exactly what's going on. And then we're going to say, I am looking for a HVAC company. Give me all the relevant industry filters I should use and the different ones they come under. And we'll see what comes out. So there's some research. We have different industry filters, exactly what I was saying. There are primary industry filters, which are, construction, facility services, mechanical and industrial engineering. There's also other ones such as building materials, consumer. There's like loads of things. And as you can see, people can define themselves in so many different ways. So we need to be really careful, and this is why we can start using Boolean filters. So let's, for example, say we have these 4,500 results. We can literally have the keyword and write HVAC in there. And this, when I put the speech mark, says it must reference HVAC in the description of the company, or it must mention it inside the post or the company name. Now, say, for example, we add in some more industry, that's adding construction, for example, and now I have 9,500 potential HVAC companies. But I also notice I'm getting some weird results like HVAC job center or HVAC school. I don't like that, so I'm going to write and, or I'm going to write not, and it's not going to be anything with the phrase job in there. So now I remove that job listing. What if I want to remove school as well? I can go not job with the brackets or school. And this will remove any mentions that have the word job or school in them, and notice how my results have dropped down from 9,500 to 6,500. So you need to get really good at using these filters together with the industries and the Boolean searches and everything else to make sure we get a really clean list of companies. Now the next thing you got to do, and this is a little bit painful, you got to click this button and save them to an account list. So let's call it create new, let's call it HVAC test. And you got to add 25 at a time. Scroll down, click next, and keep adding these all to a list. It's a little bit painful, I get it, but it doesn't take too long to do. And what you would do is you would add up all the companies that are relevant to your search. Now, when you've done that, and I promise you it will take you 5-10 minutes, you go over to your lead search. We click on leads over here, click on lead filters, and we can use under workflow account lists, and we can type in HVAC. And this will show us every single person that works at a HVAC company. So for example, we have 11,000 people. And what if, for example, we want to talk to the CEOs only? We just write CEO. And guess what? Here we have it. We have the CEOs of the HVAC companies. Really simply. Maybe they don't call themselves CEO. Maybe they call themselves owner. Maybe they call themselves chief executive officer. Maybe they call themselves partner. Maybe they call themselves founder. Whatever the term is, and we can make more of these terms in there and get more people coming up. And that's how we use account filters and lead filters really well to get a very targeted list, because it's about getting very narrow about who you want to speak to. When you talk to the right people, your entire sales process becomes more efficient. Your messaging resonates better, objections decrease, and close rates skyrocket. But even with the perfect lead list, most conversations fail because of one critical mistake in the messaging approach. Let me show you the conversation framework that has transformed our response rates. For a second, think about the last conversation you had on LinkedIn. And let me guess, it followed this very exact pattern. There was a connection, you introduced yourself, you explained what you did, you asked for a call. Hey, it all feels logical, but it rarely works. And this is because this approach fails all the time because it feels like a predetermined script. Your prospect has in fact seen this pattern dozens of times before, and they immediately recognize you're following a formula to sell them something. Even worse, many people send aggressive follow-ups when they don't get a response, not realizing that the LinkedIn algorithm sees this and now deprioritizes your content to people who ignore your messages. Each unanswered follow-up tells LinkedIn, hey, this person isn't interested in what I have to say. So when you send multiple follow-ups to someone who's ignoring you, you're not just annoying them, you're actually damaging your reach to that person. So instead, you can use the Qualify-Probe-Snatch framework or the question opener loop framework for natural conversations. And it's a 3-step framework that transforms awkward sales pitches into authentic, natural conversations. And so it follows this really simple flow of an opener, a question loop, and then a snatch. So what that means is you open a conversation, you begin to get something moving, you then go through a question loop where you speak to them, they speak to you, and you ask questions about their business, as you do in real life. And then when it's right and you feel the lead is qualified and they want to work with you potentially, they want to hear a bit about you snatch the conversation and you book in a call. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So the very first step is to open a conversation. And we open a conversation just to get a response and get it moving in the right direction. We're not trying to book a call in the first message. So typically, the best way I like to open a conversation is by having an observation and then a question. So imagine I saw you on LinkedIn. I might go, hey, saw you run an agency. How's it going? That's a very normal type of conversation to have. Now, it's not the most amazing LinkedIn message, but I want you to get into the feel of how we speak in normal life. For example, hey, I saw you at that conference. How was it? It's very normal to reference an observation and then to ask a question. And so we're just doing the same thing on LinkedIn. Now on LinkedIn, you might be wondering, what's the observation going to be? Well, it really can be anything that you observe about that company or that person. It could be their most recent post. Oh, awesome post you just did. I really like what you said about digital marketing. Or it could be, oh, awesome. I just saw you went to Madeira. How was the place? I might be going there next week. And you have a normal conversation. Now, of course, we don't want to just talk about anything. We want to have that conversation roughly going in the right direction. So for example, if you see someone and you want to work with them and you notice they have a lot of case studies, you could be like, hey, saw your awesome case study bank on your website. You must be doing really well. And that starts the conversation in a slightly businessy flow. So that's how you open a conversation. You got to open it conversationally so that the sales guard is very low. The next step is to go into the question loop where we're probing and we're qualifying. Now, very normal again in real life, when you have a conversation for someone, it's a back and forth. You ask them a question and they respond, and then they ask you a question back. Hey, how was your day? It was great. How was your day? That's an exact example of a question. You respond, they ask you a question back, and it almost is like throwing a ball backwards and forwards. And so we're going to be doing the same thing on LinkedIn. We're going to go through a series of questions in a very natural flow. Now, you may be wondering, what do I talk about in these questions? What am I saying? And ultimately, the best way to answer that is not to think about the question, but about the goal. The whole goal of the question loop is to do two things. Identify if they have a pain that you can help with, and see if they're qualified for your services. So we have to probe for a pain point, and we have to qualify for your services. Hence why this is a probe and qualify flow. So you're probing, if you're selling, for example, SEO, could be, oh, I saw your traffic was dropping down. Is that a concern for you? We're probing. And then we could qualify by saying, oh, how's business going? It looks like you're crossing 6 figures. Again, I'm qualifying for a revenue number, and that might be correlated to the type of businesses that I want to close. So in the question loop, we're going to go through a few times and go back and forth with the prospect to identify, is there a pain here, and are they qualified for my services? Maybe it's the number of employees, maybe it's the revenue, maybe it's how much they're spending on ads. It can honestly be anything. After you probe and you qualify, you may feel that, hold on, this is a hot prospect. They're right for me. Their LinkedIn company page looks good. They're the right size of business. They clearly have a pain point. I need to book this guy in. At which point you're going to snatch. And what I mean by snatch is you're snatching the call from the conversation. And it's really easy to do that. You essentially offer value and then you book it in. So for example, you might go, hey, awesome, I'm happy to walk through this on a call. Are you free next week? Or it could be like, hey, I'm happy to share some tips. Does that sound useful? I'm going to offer some value, something that they're going to get from this call, and then I'm going to hint at this idea that we can speak or we can book it in. They're going to say yes or no accordingly, or they might ignore you. That's completely okay. And then you're going to book the call. You're going to make sure you get their email, you're going to make sure you find a time, and you're going to arrange that time in the DMs. And that's the really simple flow we use. And literally, this is the flow that's booked us 268 calls in 90 days and consistently books us around 60 calls a month, honestly, without trying very hard at all. This framework feels like a natural conversation rather than a pre-written sales script. Your prospect feels heard rather than hunted, and your conversion rates double or triple as a result. But there's one more piece of the puzzle that will transform your LinkedIn from a messaging platform into a complete lead generation ecosystem, and it completely contradicts how most people use the platform today. Most people use LinkedIn randomly. They connect with anyone, they engage with viral posts, and they spray their attention across the entire platform without any focus at all. What they don't realize is that LinkedIn's algorithm creates a personalized ecosystem based on your activity. The platform, you see, preferentially shows you content from people you message with regularly and shows your content to people you engage with. See, when you engage with unqualified prospects or random connections, you're effectively training the algorithm to show yourselves to the wrong people. Over time, your LinkedIn ecosystem becomes fundamentally misaligned with your business goals. And even worse, many people continue engaging with prospects who've ignored their messages. This signals to LinkedIn that you value the relationship more than they do, and it further reduces your visibility to that person. So here's what you should be doing. You should only be engaging with qualified prospects to create a feed that attracts more clients. Be really intentional about who you message, connect with, and only engage with them on the platform. See, when you engage exclusively with qualified prospects, their content just naturally appears more frequently in your feed, and your content appears more frequently in their feed, and that's what we want to happen. The algorithm reinforces connections with people more likely, therefore, to buy from you. Your entire ecosystem becomes effectively targeted towards your ideal clients, and this is exactly how you're going to implement it. Firstly, if people don't fit your ideal client profile, don't really respond to their DMs or messages, just ignore it. It's not a huge issue. I would also just only engaging with content from potential clients or partners, or maybe people in the ecosystem, just so they give a little bit of love back, but don't take it too seriously, and just stop engaging with people who are ignoring your message. That's the last thing you want to do. If they don't want to speak to you, you shouldn't be trying to speak to them. Now, what you should do is create a list of your ideal prospects and check their weekly activity and try to engage with them. Like and comment and share content from your target prospects regularly. Think of LinkedIn as a complete ecosystem rather than just a one-to-one messaging platform. Every interaction you do teaches the algorithm what matters to you. So make sure you're teaching the right lessons. And over time, this strategic approach transforms LinkedIn from a random networking platform into a tailored environment designed specifically to attract your ideal clients. These 6 lessons have completely transformed my approach to LinkedIn. They've helped me generate millions in revenue and book literally hundreds of qualified calls every single month. So let's recap exactly what we've covered. Lesson 1 was use the posted on LinkedIn filter to ensure that you only find active users. Lesson 2 was send blank connection requests for a higher acceptance rate. Lesson 3 was create lead magnets that you give away for free but attract pre-qualified prospects. Lesson 4 was build strategic lead lists using advanced filtering techniques. That's the stuff like Boolean filters and account searches. Lesson 5 was follow the Qualify-Probe-Snatch question framework. Lesson 6 was engage with the right people to create an ecosystem that attracts more clients. Most people will never discover these strategies because they contradict the conventional wisdom about how LinkedIn works. But that's exactly why they're just so powerful. They give you an edge that most of your competitors do not have. But the thing is, this window just won't stay open forever. LinkedIn is changing fast and outreach is always and always getting harder. The people that implement these strategies today will dominate for the next 12 months. So, if you wait, you will be stuck playing catch up while your competitors flood your prospects' inboxes with better and smarter outreach. So if you found this useful and you want to learn how to use LinkedIn to add another 100K per month to your business, then really simply just watch this video right here.